and we're quote-unquote live. Good morning. How are we doing? I hope we are all well. I'm a bit late this morning, purely because that live thing, YouTube Live, kicked in this morning, and I was trying to do a live stream, which I wasted too much time on. But I think I need to play around with it a bit more before I actually skip into it. Basically, there was an issue with the orientation of the device, of my iPhone. It didn't seem to work properly, but it's all good. We'll come to it another time. I'm painting red this morning, starting with this Flesh Tears red. Should have probably started with the corn red, really. Or the Mephiston red. I'm gutted about that live stream. When I saw it this morning, I was like, yes, here we go. I wonder why it didn't work. Basically, what it had said was, you know, in order to host a video horizontally, I had to change the rotation of the camera. But if I change the rotation of the camera, then the camera isn't facing the right way. Anyway, it didn't work. So I clearly need to go away and have a look at that and do a test stream or something. I feel like I've done barely any hobby recently. It's such a shame. My daughter has been off from school. She went away this morning, which allowed me to kind of get back on the table after she went. But while she was off, I didn't really feel like I had a good moment to sit down and get some hobby in. That was quite a good reveal show, though, wasn't it? On whenever it was. How about them Krieg? Every time I see one of those reveal shows, I'm like, you know what? I could. I could start a new army. But that's what this Blood Angels is supposed to be. All happened so quickly. You've got to remind yourself that once you buy these models, you've got to build and paint them. So I'm probably going to give them a miss. But I look forward to fighting them with somebody, if I ever get a blooming game. I love how this paint covers over the gold. It looks so well. So the channel's been doing all right. I think my latest video was a bit of a dud, but then I kind of knew it when I made it, really. Painting gold on black isn't a particularly exciting video, is it, really? So we'll see how this one does. But from what I've learned, that, you know, how to dry brush black armor, that did pretty well. I'm chuffed about that. Had me thinking maybe I'll do an ultramarine one. Because that technique that I use, it's effectively the same thing that I do for them, which was born out of necessity. And when I first started painting marines again, I, you know, followed guides and whatnot myself. And it was the standard, you know, base paint layer, double layer of edge highlighting, with the recess wash. You know, that everyone does, the Games Workshop tries to teach you. And as my collection got bigger, that was fine. But when I started playing games, suddenly you wanted a model ready for the table, and you wanted to match your army. You didn't want to show up with an unpainted army. And so I started, because edge highlighting would take me forever. Like, it wasn't unheard of me to spend like 2 weeks on the edge highlighting of like a 10-man squad. And I was like, this is, you know, now I'm, which was fine when I was just painting for myself, but when I'm painting to play, then, you know, you want it to be quicker. So then you hear about dry brushing, you're like, great, dry brushing, let's do it. But I found with dry brushing that it wasn't actually as easy as I'd been led to believe. It was actually quite tricky, especially when you get that chalkiness. You know, the streaks and whatnot. So that is when I started looking at the all-over wash as well. And then at the time, the all-over wash had a pretty bad reputation. Oh, you don't want to do an all-over wash. You want to do a you know, a recess shade, and all these different products that could help you with that, like the panel liners from Tamiya, I think they make them. And I thought about looking into that, but generally I stick to Games Workshop stuff, so I didn't bother. And, oh no, it wasn't. It was the Imperium magazine. So I was painting Calgar, Chapter Master Calgar of the Ultramarines, Marneus Calgar. And the guide that I was following for the Imperium magazine, which, if you don't know what that was, it was a subscription magazine, Hachette Partwork. And one of my things that I did during the pandemic was get this magazine, and that was kind of what kept me sane. And I decided that I would just follow the guides, like, rather than painting how I need to paint, just follow the guide step by step. And when I came to Calgar, it said to do an all-over wash. And I was like, that's going to be awful, but let's do it. And it turned out it looked fantastic. It looked really, really good. And so that is when I realized how to speed paint or a technique that might work. Was this double dry brush, fill in all the other base details, and then do an all-over wash. And that's it. And that's how I painted my battle company. and it came out pretty damn good. They look pretty good. I wish I could put a picture in. So when it came to these guys, and because this is like my second army, they're not going to be my main army. I'm not collecting like 10,000 points of these guys. I want like 2,000 point. 2,000? Yeah, 2,000 point. And then I'll be done with them. So I knew I wanted to paint them quickly. But I think, I mean, to me, I don't know what you guys think. This looks like it's been edge highlighted. I'm very, very happy with it, the black armor. Anyway, so that was a long-winded way of saying, yes, that that video did pretty well. People seem to like it. So perhaps a series is in order. How to dry brush blue armor. How to dry brush green armor. I haven't actually painted anything else in terms of Marines. I've always kind of wanted to do that thing that quite a lot of people do, is when they go out and they get like a box of Marines and they paint like every chapter, all the main ones. The first founding. Or the legions, I suppose that would be, wouldn't it? So I'll tell a lie, I have painted Dark Angels. A wee while ago I got the, what's it, Dark Imperium box set, which I still consider quite a new box set, but then I try and remember that it came out like probably, 10 years ago or something? Where does the time go? Where does the time go? But yeah, I painted like a tactical, was it a tactical squad that came with that? I think it was. It was like a plasma gunner and some Terminators. I've got to be careful how I'm putting these guys down. I've got a wee while now until Saturday for the giant game at the Warhammer store. Tanks versus treads. Should prove to be fun. As I've said before, I am very starved of Warhammer right now, actually playing the game. I've missed quite a bit of these guys, haven't I, in terms of the red details. There's not much point putting it over these things. I'm going to have to come back with a red paint later. I find that quite a bit, like, especially when you're painting a big squad or something, you'll just miss bits. And it's like, I could just plow through it, which is probably what I'm going to do. But then I suppose if I use a different colour, basically I'm looking at these things here. I should have painted them silver or gold, and I haven't. So we'll come back with the Mephiston or Corn Red. I haven't decided yet. Probably Corn, and do these crosses, and we'll do the blood drops at the same time. I mean, that'll make it look slightly different anyway than than their fellows, which is fine, a bit of variation. You see how... Here's the thing about contrast paints that I don't like. I love contrast paints. I don't know if you can tell how far up the brush the contrast paint is seeping. It's like up to here, right before... You've got to clean them an awful lot, because you can damage your brush using these things. They're worse than metallics. It's a good opportunity to drink some tea, though. My mug has seen better days. I don't know if you can see this. My missus made this for me. It's all kind of destroyed now, but you can kind of make out Marius Gage there. She did that herself. I was so chuffed. I'm hoping to have these guys done over the next couple of days. I want to ply through them today if I've got time. Get some more done. Because I think we're going to be bored of watching me painting Death Company. I saw that Lord of the Rings reveal as well on Sunday, yesterday. The new edition of Lord of the Rings. That looks pretty good. Every time I see something like that, I always reminded of my father. My father unfortunately passed away quite a while ago now, and he was a big fan of Lord of the Rings. Not so much, not at all the tabletop game or anything, but I reckon he might have been by now. He was just starting to get into an old man model making stage when he passed. So whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, ah, damn, you know. Do your hobbies when you can, folks. Oh, we've done this one. 2 more to go. So yeah, this game I'm having on Saturday, the more I think about it, as much as I would love to bring my vehicles, which is my Astraeus, my Land Raider, Lancer, some Lehman Russes, whatever. Rhinos, that kind of thing. I think I've got to bring my my walkers, which is a heck of a lot of dreadnoughts. A heck of a lot of dreadnoughts and my Imperial Knight. It's the only time I actually get to use the Imperial Knight. I've just realised I've forgotten all their these silver bands. Maybe I'll bring my Adeptus Sororitas, the Penitent Walker I've got as well. Or is that a bit much? Is that a bit an overkill, perhaps? It'd be good. It's always good to see the Titans when they walk. We've at Aberdeen, there's like the Tau one is there. A guy has got a giant orc thing. I think there's a Reaver, at least one Reaver. There's a Warhand, a couple of Warhands probably. And the Eldar Titan is so good. much all the red on that one. I've been watching, speaking of Titans, you probably know a guy called Forge of Mars, who is quite big in the hobby community. He organizes, or helps organize, I guess, the Titan Owners Club. And he's also co-creator of the Tyrannus Owners Club, which is for Imperial Knights of House Tyrannus. And I got recommended his video by YouTube, his channel. And I was amazed to see that he didn't really have, although he's got a big following in the hobby community, his channel was quite small. So you want to look him up. The Forge of Mars, he's called. He does 2 live streams a week. Very chill stuff. So I enjoyed watching that. But I tell you what, the point I'm getting to is that I am now reinvigorated for Project Titan. I would like to own a Titan. A fully painted Warlord Titan. So, what I tend to do is, in March, is I paint or I go down to Warhammer World in March. I've been doing that for 2 years now. I've gone twice. And I generally pick up a large or difficult model. The first year was I picked up, gosh, what was it? Was it 30k Guilliman? Yeah, which at the time, for me, it was like, oh boy, I'm painting a Primarch, let's go. Incidentally, if anyone's on the fence about painting a 30k Primarch, really don't be. They're not that difficult. They're just big Space Marines. The second year I went, I picked up the Astraeus, the super heavy tank. And this year, I'm thinking the Warlord. Right. What should we do now? Let's go back to the first guy. Oh, you see that? I'm missing the silver bits. I think I've missed quite a few, actually. Now I'm looking at the rest of the squad. I can see 4. God damn it. Anyone else do that? I can't be the only one, surely. I suppose the only difficult thing about the Warlord, if I pick up a Warlord, is how the heck am I going to stream it? There's no way I'm fitting it under the camera. I'm still on the fence about what Legio. Is that what they're called? Titan Legios? Houses. I'm going to be painting it. There's a part of me, quite a sizable part, that would like to paint it with the Titan Legion that has like a connection to the Ultramarines. Which is Praesagius, I think, and Solaria. Solaria are the ones that have a lot of female pilots. And Praesagia, I think they were in No Fear or one of the books from there. So yeah, that's kind of the next thing I've got to think out. Or what I might do is just choose one that calls to me, you know. Doesn't have to be any connection to the Ultramarines, because these Titan Legions, they would work with anyone. The great thing about Praseogia, though, when it comes to the Ultramarines, is that they are based in Ultramar. There's a moon called Gantz, which orbits the planet Konor, named after Guilliman's father. And it was relocated there after Guilliman was found by the Emperor. I've done that one. To make sure that they had a Titan Legion available. The colour scheme is okay. It doesn't really grip me. Not at the moment anyway. I was thinking I was going to go away and have a read. I always find the more lore you read, the more interesting these things can get. Like, take, for example, the Iron Hands. In my day, the Iron Hands were nothing. Like, nobody played the Iron Hands. Nobody. They had no lore. All we knew about the Iron Hands was that their Primarch died during the Heresy. Like, the early one. The first one, sorry. And that was it. And to be fair, that was actually the same with the Imperial Fists and the Raven Guard and the Salamanders. They're really the only chapters that anyone bothered with were Ultramarines, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, and Space Wolves. That was pretty much it. But when the lore gets changed and it gets updated, then you'll find that you gravitate towards certain things. So yeah, going looking up these Titan Legions, then maybe one of them will speak to me a bit more. Whoops. I was supposed to be playing a game on Friday, was it? A Combat Patrol game, but unfortunately it never happened. I was hoping to play the Blood Angels, the new Blood Angels Combat Patrol, with the Sanguinary Guard and a captain and some Assault Marines. But it fell through, unfortunately. Right, now we've done. Great colour. Okay, so what do we move on to now? I think I'm going to finish the red. Let's try this. I'm curious. I'd like a bright red, really, so we're going to go for Mephiston. Do we put down a coat of like Wraithbone or Corax White? Do we do that first? Let's have a test, shall we? I think we might have to. I think even 2 thin coats of that is going to be challenging, whereas if I put down Wraithbone first, it should cover much better. And I could also go over the other details, but that's a lot of, like on these weapons, these are all going to be red, as are these things, the ropes. So maybe I'll go for like, what's the one I use for wax for the Ultramarines? Screamer Pink. Yeah, I think the ropes might be Screamer Pink. Try and separate out some of the details. I've missed this thing down here as well. Look at that. Look at me missing all my details. I was looking at the, again, the reveal shows. We're getting the last Dawn of Fire book, which I haven't actually read any of that Dawn of Fire series. I heard some reasonably good things about the first book, Avenging Sun, and possibly even the second one as well, which was Gate of Bones or something. I think I talked about this in another video, in my last one, about what's it called? Plague War. Dark Imperium, whatever it was called. It's coming out alright. Might need a 3rd coat. We'll power through, let's do it. Yeah, so this last Dawn of Fire book is coming out. Called The Silent King. So it's Necron books and the Pariah Nexus. And I'd quite like to read that, because it looks like it's going to be Guilliman focused. He's on the cover. I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I think you can. I've always said that was a bit daft. I think you can totally judge a book by its cover. If you can, what's the point of a cover? So, I'm pretty sure it's going to be about Guilliman and the Silent King. So I asked the author, Guy Haley, I was like, can you read it as a standalone? And he said, not really. But if you wanted to kind of skip to the end, then you could probably get away with reading Avenging Sun and what was it called? The Bone one, the second book. And was there a 3rd? I'd have to look up the tweet. So that's probably what I'm going to do. As much as I love chain swords, I'm really not a big fan of painting the damn things. So, I'm pretty excited about it, actually, I'll be honest, that I get to start a new 40k book. I haven't read a 40k novel in quite some time. I haven't been inspired to, is the honest truth. Again, I've mentioned that in another video as well, that I've been reading A Song of Ice and Fire, the Game of Thrones, which, incidentally, on the book that I'm on at the moment, which is A Feast for Crows, it's not brilliant. It's I will say that the story quality has gone down a little bit, so hopefully something interesting happens. It's been a bit of a dull one. But I'm only starting it, so hopefully it'll pick up. So anyway, I'm kind of excited to start this Avenging Sun book. Perhaps I will do a book review. I'm only about 5 years too late. You know, I could probably put 1 or 2 coats down of this and then maybe go over the whole thing with like Blood Angels contrast paint. I wonder how well that would work. Let's just go over these gems. Sometimes you have to pick your battles if you're trying to get through something quickly. If you're just doing tabletop quality. God, the angles on this is difficult. What's that meme? We'll get it live. We'll get it in the wash phase. I'll tell you what I should have done. We just had Black Friday, didn't we? I should have got this new light I was talking about getting. Constantly battering my my brush against it. I'm really sorry for making the camera wobble. Yeah. I think using a white base primarily is going to be easier, which makes it quicker. Because that's not going on spectacularly well, is it? These gems I've done gold, and I'll have to redo them. That's a shame. I think these weapons in general, I should have just painted them red and been done with it. You live and learn. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing these first before I do a tutorial video, I suppose. When you've not painted something before, then You know, you want to get some practice in first. I've gone through the mistakes, so you don't have to. It's a good colour, though. I do like the... Oh, it's a bit too dubstep for me. Give me 2 seconds. What was I saying? Yeah, it's a good colour. It certainly looks good on the shoulder guard, the shoulder pad. But we are looking at like 3 or 4 coats to get this solid over the black. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure about that at all. Let's move. Should be okay once I get the washes on. That should fix that. I think we're gonna have to go back in and tidy up with the silver. But I think I'm absolutely right. I think we need to switch out. The red will have to wait. And we're gonna have to put down a base of Corax White, or Wraithbone is probably my choice, because it's then you can use contrast paints a lot better. I should probably change my water after using red. We shall live dangerously. Yeah, oh, it's got some up here too. You see, this is definitely why I think GW decided to, for lack of a better word, downgrade the Death Company, so they don't have all these bits and pieces on them. They do take a while to paint. they definitely take a long time to do, all these extra details, whereas you could just paint them black, slap on some transfers and call it a day. It seems that their philosophy is to get people finished a model, which makes total sense. And not, you might think, oh yeah, they want them to finish the model so that they can get it on the table and play with it and all the rest of it. And they don't care about that. You want to know how I know that? Try and get a game at your local GW. Unless you happen to live near Warhammer World, you ain't doing it there with them. If you're playing elsewhere. They care about you getting your model finished so you can pick up the next box. So they want things easier to paint, quicker to paint. And there's not anything actually wrong with that. I think it works quite well. I get it. I just like these old parts, that's all. All these purity seals I've added on as well. Certainly when you're painting them at the time, you're like, oh, did I really need to do this? When I did my battle company, I kept it absolutely bare bones. So there was no pouches, there was no grenades, no purity seals unless they were already attached to the model. Because the whole point of that army was to be the spectacle of having 100 Marines. I'm not even following my own advice. Remember, if you can't see it, you don't need to paint it. Unfortunately, I can see that. I'm sure this thing kind of creeps down as I'm... Sorry, 2 seconds, guys. Let me readjust the camera. I'm sure it creeps down as I'm painting. I apologize. I think it's exactly where it was. I still need to replace my old light. I saw that Redgrass Games have brought one out, which are the company that makes really popular wet palettes. Oh my gosh. Tap, 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 tap. We got any more? Oh, there's two there at the back, hiding away. That is across there as well, isn't it? Yeah, right there and there. I think I'm going to finish this one up, and I think I'm going to have to call that a day. That's been about an hour. I've probably got about 10 minutes left. Starting later and later. It's going to need another coat as well. Yeah, that'll do. What was I talking about? Yeah, it was book review, wasn't it? Thinking about doing book reviews. I was actually saying to my missus that it's a shame that I started this channel when I did. It would have been good if I'd done it about 4 years ago, when I had all my... I had barely painted anything. I barely read anything. It would have been good to do it back then. Oh my god, I'm really sorry I keep tapping the damn thing. But there's always more stuff to paint. There's always more stuff to talk about. I'm hoping that we get this Scouring novel series, you know, after the Heresy. My only reason why I think they won't do that is because it's going to be very, very similar to Dawn of Fire. Or at least it should be, you know. In the lore at the moment, after the Heresy, Guilliman arrives at Terra ahead of the Vengeance fleet. And it's the Ultramarines that effectively shore up the entire Imperium. You know, he creates the Codex Astartes. He forces it on the rest of them because he's got the most Marines, and no one can really, even combined, they're not supposed to be able to match the Ultramarines. He has his sort of war of words with Dorn. Dorn gets a hissy fit and goes and throws his legion into the Iron Cage. Which he has to be rescued by the Ultramarines. Yeah, so there's definitely books to be read there, but I forgot about the bone, didn't I? God, there's a lot of stuff in this model, isn't there? So yeah, plenty to read. And I could always reread some of my favourite books. Favorite books in the Heresy series, go. Okay. Number 1, Saturnine. Number 2, ooh, number 2 is hard, isn't it? Master of Mankind. Number 3. Some of them are good, but they've got like not fantastic endings. Like Talarn was a great book the first time you read it, but it doesn't reread very well. It's not a repeatable book, and unfortunately, once you know the ending, a lot of the enjoyment that book goes. Number 3, number 3. Number 3. I mean, it's. Can I include End in the Death? All three the 3 volumes? Probably. So I would say End of the Death. I enjoyed that. Number 4. I'm just going to say it. Damnation of Pythos is my number 4. I loved that book. I thought it was great. Number 5. I liked The Lost and the Damned. I thought that was great. But Know No Fear was also great. It's very hard. It's very hard. Right, he's pretty much done with his Wraithbone. That weapon's good. I'm gonna have to rethink about these eviscerators. They're bugger to paint. I think the best thing to be would be to have covered it all in white or Wraithbone, and then gone into it afterwards. It'll be fine though. Like it'll. Oh, I'm not even on camera, am I? There we go. And we're gonna have to pick out the silver details again. I think we'll have to go in there, or we might be able to get it with a wash. Pick out these gems. Do something with the leather strap that's holding them on. It'll be fine. Yeah. Right. I'm calling that a day. That's 10 o'clock where I am, which is probably about a good 30 minutes after when I would normally be finishing. So if you have made it this far, well done. Impressive. Thank you very much for watching these videos. I will work on these live streams. I'm probably going to do that later on today. So yes, thank you very much for watching. We will catch you the next time I make a video, I suppose. Maybe tomorrow. Have a good morning.